Good morning, everyone. Hello, it's me, Dr. Alice Langholt, here for another episode of Reiki Talk Live on the Learn Practical Reiki Facebook group. So today, our topic is how does distance healing work? And I love distance healing. It's amazing. Distance healing is one of my favorite things because it's so magical. And the reason it's magical, hello people who are coming, thank you. The reason that it's magical is because, most of us are not brought up knowing that it could be possible. We're taught to just believe what our senses show us, which ironically is often inaccurate anyways. If you can see it and hear it, it must be real. Otherwise, not so sure, and so it's a whole new way of thinking to be, distance healing, what? You're not in the same room as someone. You're not around someone. How could you possibly have any effect on them? Or how could someone have any effect on you if they are far away from you or even in the next room? That's why it feels magical. It also isn't very measurable by science and things. And so magic is usually anything that science can't explain. So anyhow, distance healing has fallen into that category for the most part. However, I will say some new advancements in like quantum physics and stuff have shown that have shown a couple things, that two particles, or photons, or whatever, can simultaneously vibrate the same way when one of them is manipulated. If they start out being connected and then they're separated, and if the one of them is like manipulated, the other one will start to do the same thing. Spun, for instance, it will spin in the same direction. Now, that's all lovely, but it's hard to apply that to understanding people. Another thing, though, about people is there have been experiments that have people wearing some kind of like EEG equipment, in different places, people that are emotionally connected to each other. And when one person starts thinking loving thoughts about the other person, that person's brain changes. And those things are true. But moving beyond these things, I want to talk a little bit about, I'm not going to move beyond them yet. I'm going to also mention my dissertation, because I did an experiment with my dissertation on intention, gratitude, and the heart rate. And what I did was I learned how to get myself into a state of coherence, meaning autonomic nervous system balance, which was activated by feelings of gratitude. If you feel gratitude, like really feel it, feeling into it, what am I grateful for, and feeling grateful, not just listing, I'm grateful for this and that and the other thing, and bananas and coffee and house, blah blah, but to really feel grateful, then your system changes physically and your heart rate becomes very even, and that also affects changes in your stress and healing and things like that, all for the better. But my experiment was, if I am in that state, what about people around me? And what about someone I'm thinking of? And so we used the same kind of equipment that measured my own coherence to measure that of another person, both sitting across from me at a table and during other parts of my experiment in another state, but online with me, and at a specific time I thought of them. And then when I thought of that person, then measurable changes happened. So we really are all connected. And that's an important thing to remember. Hello. We really are all connected. And that's very important because that makes distance healing possible. We are connected by energy. We are energy. The part that animates us and helps us think, in fact, the part of us that thinks, let's say it that way, our consciousness, is energy. Therefore, we are all connected by this same energy, and that's why our collective thoughts can cause a lot of effect on the world and the planet. But back to distance healing. So, distance healing surpasses time and space. So, because time and space are physical. Let me explain. Time and space are connected and they're physical, and here's why. Because we move and we grow. Okay, I am still me, and once I was a baby. And I am bigger now than I was when I was a baby. I grew. My body changed. In fact, our bodies are changing all the time on a cellular level. But I changed. And therefore, in order to get bigger, I had to, there was time. Okay, that was a linear thing with my body. Moved from being a baby to being me. I cannot be everything physically that I was right now at this time. I can't be my baby body and my grown-up body and my teenage body and my 20s body. Like, this is my body, but it has changed. And I can't be all of those right now, or it would be very confusing, like in a physical way. So how is it possible that I can be just here like I am? Time. Time allows me to change and to move. Because I was in bed this morning, upstairs, and now I am downstairs, here in the dining room. In order for that to happen, I had to physically move my body and get down here. And that means that I can't be in both places at one time. I can't be in both places at once. That would be confusing, and that would make life weird and hard to understand or manage, So we need time. I was there, I am now here, and later I might go over there. In order to move, there needs to be time. Okay, so time and physical space are connected. However, energy is not affected by those things. I can, therefore, send a distance healing into the future for someone, even myself, to receive at a later time. I can also send healing back in time to help change the effect that some event had on me now. And I can send healing across any distance. And all of this is done by intention. And a lot of people my students think that intention is probably my favorite word, but it might be, other than wow. I also love wow. But intention is the thought, okay? It is directive thought. It is telling it what to do. It is intending, and it, like, I am telling something what to do. I'm deciding what it should do. This is what intention is about, and we do it every day. We use intention all the time when we're planning something that we want to happen. Like my intention is your favorite word. Oh, that's nice. Okay, my husband needs to find a new job, so he is intending to find a new job. He is working towards finding a new job. He is expecting that he will find a new job and be lined up with the perfect opportunity soon. Now, hopefully. But he's working towards that. So that intention is motivating him to action. And lots of action, in fact. But that's an example. You can intend to go brush your teeth, and you get up and you go in the bathroom and you start brushing your teeth. You do the things, You have to first decide that's what you're going to do. So intention starts in the mind. What you're going to do starts in the mind, and what happens to you and what you expect to happen to you. All of these things affect way beyond just like, I think I'm going to drink some coffee, But I'm talking about like the changes that you want, the changes you affect, and also just even the whole climate around us, like how many people are concerned. And there has been a lot of anxiety in a cumulative energetic wave in our country, in the world, for several years. And that, like, close to 4 years. But that collective anxiety has caused some shifts that have probably contributed to where we are now. But that's a bigger thing, and we're not going to talk too much about that right now. Just want you to think about everybody thinking the same thing, feeling the same way, or variations on that, and a lot of conflicted energy. But let's get back to distance healing, okay? So I've talked about time and space are physical constructs because they are part of the physical world. But energy is not. And when I think, so here's an example. Can you think about something that happened to you in the past? A memory. Think about a memory that happened to you in the past. And if you close your eyes and you really think about it, you can almost feel like you're there. It's like your thoughts are taking you there. And, our memories are actually not accurate. And every time that we think of a memory, when we engage with the feelings from that memory, we reinstall that memory in our minds. I'm learning something now in a meditation class. It's more than a meditation class that I'm taking. But basically, let's just call it a meditation class right now. What I'm learning is that if we think of a memory that was a painful memory, and while we think of that memory, kind of holding that thought in our head, we bring forth feelings of love or gratitude, which is the same stuff anyway, or hold that feeling instead of whatever the memory would normally make us feel. Then when the memory goes back into our minds, it's re-encoded with that feeling, not the original one, which then takes away its painful power over us. So the next time you think of it, you won't feel the original anxiety or whatever pain, anger that it was with. You will just feel love. So there's a whole exercise that we're supposed to do this week about that. But again, I'm supposed to be talking about distance healing, but I'm talking about emotion. So I want you to do one more thing. I think imagine that you are walking on another planet. Just create it in your mind. Create it in your mind, this other planet. It can be colorful. It can be, any way you want. Try to put some details in there. And think about walking on that other planet. Because you can walk on it. You're creating it. It's okay. You can breathe there too, because, just create some oxygen. You're good. Okay. So you're walking on this colorful other planet, and you can look around, and you can see stars and moons and suns and other kinds of comets and whatever. You created that with your mind. You went there with your mind. So I'm just trying to illustrate that with our minds, our thoughts can go anywhere, backward, forward in time, and away from even this planet. Our thoughts are very powerful, and they are not limited by our physical surroundings. We can think beyond where we are right now. And you see, you can think about work, you can think about the movies, you can think about any other place and imagine being there. Your thoughts are not stuck here where you are physically right now. That's very important. Intention is, it's a thought, but it's not just like a random thought like, oh, nice day. Intention is a directive thought. It's like, this is what I expect, this is what I'm doing, this is what is happening. So that is the key to doing distance healing. It's the key to lots of things. It's the key to manifesting. It's the key to changing your life and how you feel about your life. It's a key to improving your own immune system. All of it starts with intention. And I wrote my master's thesis on comparing different energy healing methods that were totally different in the way that they're practiced, and yet none of them would work without intention. So none of them would work without intention. Therefore, intention is the most essential ingredient for all of them. So let's go back to distance healing now that I've set up this whole big stage here. Distance healing begins with intention. We have to intend to work with Reiki. If we're using Reiki, this is how we do it. We think Reiki on, or just Reiki. The intention to work with Reiki is Ev.
Yeah.
If you,
Well, I'm sorry.
it's okay. I just think, if you want to have some tea or something,
Okay.
we have some honey. That'd be a
All right. Sorry.
really good idea, probably. Anyway, so we intend Reiki. We intend to work with Reiki energy. And then we tell it what to do. So if we want to do self-healing, we have Reiki. We intend Reiki on self-healing. And if there's some specific reason you want your self-healing to, you want it to do something like help with a cough or relieve some anxiety or whatever, help you be more creative, you can add that intention. That's basic Reiki stuff. But if we want to send healing to another person or an animal, whatever, to someone else, okay, we intend Reiki on, Reiki for that recipient, Reiki for my husband Evan over there across the room who's coughing, and sending him Reiki, and so to help relieve his cough, to help his immune system, heal that, to help him soothe his breathing and help him feel better. So see what I'm doing with my hands? This is just a me thing. I mean, it's a technique where if I hold my hands like this, I can feel the energy flowing, and it is helpful for me to feel like, yeah, the energy is flowing, and that's good. But my hands could be on my lap, or they could be facing each other or not, because really it all comes from here. My intention for Reiki to go to Evan to help him feel better. That's what makes it work. And it really is that simple. It's intend and send. And then the third step is to attend, which basically means to observe, which means, I told you, my hands were tingling. My hands tingle when I'm sending Reiki to anyone. And they tingle in different ways, depending on how the energy is being received. So that's something that I've learned to observe. But the cool thing one of the cool things about distance healing is not only does it get from here to there, and it's in the same instant, okay, it's like instantly. You can also manipulate time with distance healing. And this is why I started talking about time at the beginning of this broadcast, because time is a physical construct. It's not limited. Energy is not limited by time. Energy, so we can manipulate this, just like we can manipulate the distance thing. We can be beyond the distance thing when we're sending energy, we're sending Reiki across any distance to anyone. We can also manipulate time, and what I mean is, I can intend Reiki and Reiki for, Evan, my husband, and I can intend for him to receive this Reiki later, like at a specific time. If I want him to receive this Reiki at 12 p.m., I can intend that this Reiki will be received by him at 12 p.m. And 12 p.m. it'll just start. Or I can intend I'm just waving, hello, okay. I can intend for Reiki to be received by Evan when he decides to receive it, which would mean it would just hang out for him in his field until he says, I'm receiving this Reiki now. And then it would start. And that's called cueing. And it's one of the very special things that I teach in practical Reiki training that's not taught in any other energy healing method. It's called cueing. You can send Reiki preset. You can send it in real time, and you can send it cued. Preset means to set it up to be received at a certain time or at a certain point, meaning like during an event. Like if Evan was going to have a job interview, I would send Reiki for him to receive just before and during his job interview. And whenever that would start, even if he was waiting in a waiting room or waiting online. Oh, thanks, Amy. Yay. Then it would just start during that event. Like, this is very useful for sending Reiki to somebody who's going to have surgery or something when they aren't, they don't know exactly what time the surgery is going to start. So I can say, like, my sister's going to have surgery actually on her foot on Thursday. So I can send Reiki, Reiki for Laura for to be received at the start of her surgery and all throughout, so that her surgery goes well and everything goes for the highest and best, and all who encounter her, all who are involved in her care, are working at their very highest and best capacity to help her. Like, that's a wonderful intention. And now she doesn't have to be awake to call in that Reiki or even aware that it's coming, though she certainly is receptive, and I wouldn't send it to her if she wasn't. But this then is a way of sending it into the future for it to be just released at a specific time. This is how to manipulate time and space using distance healing. So that's called preset. And then cued would be if, like I just said, if I sent Reiki for Evan for him to receive when he's ready, then I can send it now. It's waiting for him to say, okay, now's a good time. I'm going to receive my Reiki now. And, just Reiki go, or I'm receiving my Reiki now, that intention to receive, and it would start then. See that? So that's taught in practical Reiki. You're not going to learn that in other energy healing methods unless you're learning Kundalini Reiki, which is what practical Reiki is based on. Kundalini Reiki, I just adapted it and made it more understandable, added a lot of explanatory content, and changed some of the names of some of the healing intentions to make more sense, all with the permission of Ole Gabrielson, who developed Kundalini Reiki. Okay, just to let you know. So, that's how distance healing works. I mean, and hopefully, some of the expository stuff that I said at the beginning sets a foundation that you can think about time and space and healing and quantum physics and things like that to try to help you get the logic stuff or whatever into your head, thinking about it that way to make it a little more acceptable, because otherwise it just sounds like, oh, come on, how could that be? And that's what I thought too. When I first heard of distance healing, I'm like, what? No, that can't be real. I will just actually tell a quick story here about my first distance healing experience. When I first learned Reiki, I would say that I didn't have the exact kind of Reiki education that I probably needed to thrive at Reiki from the start. So I had all kinds of doubts, especially self-doubts, and my teacher did not really do a lot to help me with that. So, however, around the time of my Tingle story, and if you haven't heard my Tingle story, read the book or go back through any one of my other videos here. There's the Tingle story is a cool thing. But anyway, that was my level 2 training in Usui Reiki a year and a half after my first training, which kind of tells you something, right? But anyways, that during that training, my teacher gave me homework. And she's like, okay, your homework is you're going to send a distance healing. And I'm like, what? I guess, no, I can't. And she was like, yep, you're going to do this. And I said, okay, what do I do? She says, okay, so you're going to do the distance healing symbol. And I'll tell you right now, there's no distance healing symbol that's necessary. That's so practical Reiki doesn't use symbols and doesn't need them. But this is what I was taught at the time I was taught it. So don't worry about that. But she said, you're going to do the distance healing symbol, which also was very hard to learn and is in Japanese and has 5 syllables and 25 strokes. You're going to do the distance healing symbol. You're going to, she said, intend distance healing for Tatiana. It was her friend's daughter in Israel. She said, so, and I needed to know, according to her, my teacher at the time, she told me that you need to know the person's name, first and last, the place where they live, like the city or whatever, and you have to know their mother's name. you know what? There's no logical reason that you really need to know all that stuff. And I know now that you don't need to do that. And when I teach you distance healing at some point, or if you read my book, Practical Reiki, learn Practical Reiki, you'll understand why you don't need all that stuff. Because it's really about the intention. And the intention, I'm just giving you like fast forward many years to my understanding of distance healing, to be like, intention is knowing who you mean. So whether you know what they look like or not, it doesn't matter if you know who you mean. Okay, so I know I mean my husband when I say Evan. I don't have to be like, okay, Evan Andrew Langholt, whose mother's name was Lillian. You know, like, I don't have to do that. My husband, that's how I know him. But I could also send healing to the person who goes by Susie512 on Twitter, because that's how I know her. Works the same way. I don't know where she is, what she looks like, anything like that, but I know that she's the one who requested distance healing. Okay? That's the idea. Intention. Your mind. That's the part that's important. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah. So she gave me this assignment to send distance healing to, Tatiana Shulman, or whatever her name was, daughter of, Yehudit in Tel Aviv, and do the distance healing symbol, and then this is the thing. Then she said, my teacher said to me, and call me tomorrow and tell me what's wrong with her. Like, what part of her body is having a problem. And I was like, how the heck am I going to know that? And she said, scan. And I'm like, she's not even there. How am I going to scan? I don't even barely know how to do that at all, And she's like, you just try. And then you call me tomorrow and you tell me what's wrong with her. I'm just like, oh, God, So I go home thinking this is impossible homework and I'm going to be too terrible. And I'm just like thinking all these like scary thoughts and stuff. And I decided, well, I'm going to try. So I, sat on the floor. I don't know, I sat on the floor in the dark, sort of in the dark. I don't know, didn't turn on a lot of lights, whatever. It was late. It was like, I don't know, 9:30. It wasn't that late, but everybody was in bed. The kids, my husband was not. And I intend, Reiki on and Reiki for Tatiana Shulman, daughter of Yehudit in Tel Aviv. And I did the distance healing symbol, this whole long thing. I hope I'm doing it right. Oh, God, okay. And then I'm like, okay, she's probably really big, because, I don't know, she's full size, I don't know. So I imagine her, like, laying down here, like, kind of on my lap. And that's not the way I do it now. If you learn Practical Reiki, you'll learn how easy it can be. But anyways, what I did back then, because this is all I knew, and which is almost nothing, and I start, like, going like this, and I don't feel anything. I feel nothing at all. I feel like, oh, this is dumb. I don't know what I'm doing, blah, blah, And I do this, my hands are just, I'm cruising my hands all down, going along, wherever. This is probably her body, blah, blah, blah. Don't feel anything. Oh, yeah, okay, try again. It's going on. I don't know, I'm probably like, she's like, is her legs, is her torso, and, is her chest, and, it's moving on, is her face, and nothing's happening. And I think, ugh, now I fail, obviously. I don't know what's wrong with her. How am I going to know? And then I think, oh, I didn't do her back. I'm live on Facebook, Sari. My daughter's downstairs looking at me like, who are you talking to? So I flipped her over. Like, I didn't make a sound, but that's basically what I did. I went, okay. And I'm like, okay, so I start scanning again. Okay, back of her head, da 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 da. And all of a sudden, like, as I'm just sort of going along, my hands just stopped. I'm like, why did my hands stop? I thought to myself, why have my hands stopped? I was just cruising right along, and now they've just stopped. And so I felt like, well, should I just keep moving them? And they didn't really feel like moving. And it wasn't like I couldn't stop them if I really tried. It was just that they didn't want to move. That was the only thing I was thinking, my hands don't want to move. That's weird. And then a few moments later, I felt like something kind of released, and they moved again. I'm like, okay, that was weird. Maybe I just made that up. I don't know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. Let me do it again. So I go again. No expectations, just sitting here like, my husband came in and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm sending Reiki. He was like, to who? He's like, because we didn't know anything about distance healing before I had gone out tonight, and I said, Tatiana. He's like, where is she? I was like, in Israel. And he was like, oh my God. And I'm like, would you please just leave the room? Because like, I already am feeling that way, So like, ugh, okay. Anyway, so I'm going cruise along, and boom, my hands stop again. Like, just like I'm like, they stopped again. They're like probably over her back. Okay, and then they released a few minutes later, and then the third time my hands just cruised on over by themselves, just real smooth, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm done. And I thought, boy, that was either something or it was nothing. And I was so nervous about the whole thing. So the next day, I did not call my teacher because I was sure that I must be wrong. I was sure I must be wrong, and that was just me or something, and maybe she probably has a broken toe, but I don't know. So, of course, my teacher called me later that day, and she's like, so did you do the homework I assigned you? And I said, yeah. And she said, and what do you think Tatiana has a problem? And I was like afraid to say anything. I was afraid of being wrong. But I just went, her back? And she goes, yeah, she has a rash all over her back. And I thought, is it possible that I actually somehow sensed that? And so I decided to give myself the benefit of the doubt, but I was like, I really do need to learn more about this distance healing stuff. Because if I really was able to sense it in some way, I want to learn how to do that more. And now, all these years later, I know that observing what you're noticing when you're sending distance healing, even if it seems inconsequential, even if it seems really subtle, but these are the keys to training your mind what to look for, what is important, what to pay attention to, because this is teaching your intuition that it's important. It's teaching your mind that your intuition is important, actually. Your conscious mind learns that your intuitive signals are important, and thus will pay attention more to those, and it will get easier to notice. And so since that time, I started paying attention to everything, whether my hands feel like stopping, or they're tingling, or they're hot, or they're cold, or I'm feeling something, or seeing something in my mind, or whatever, getting an idea, a pop that pops into my head. Being open to these subtle signals and not just dismissing them like we might dismiss them normally, like people are just like trained to dismiss them, which is what I said at the very beginning of this broadcast. But just learning to take them as they're important, they matter. Our minds are trained differently than to respond. Our minds are being trained to respond to our intuition and to learn from it. And then we can understand things, and we can help people even more by saying, hey, I really noticed that like your heart chakra was receiving a lot of energy today when I sent you distance healing, and here's what that is about, because I teach you that in my course. Here's what that could be about. And then your person that you're sending distance healing to, well, they can think more about their life and the giving and receiving of love and care that they have going on in their life right now, and about caring for themselves or whatever it is that they actually need more of, that has to do with, where you felt the energy flowing and where they felt it. So this helps you have more of a dialogue, more of an understanding, and to learn to trust your intuition as it starts to develop even further. And then you can start to do a lot more with your intuition because now you know how to use it. So, just to reflect on my Practical Reiki course for a minute, the introductory chapters are all about learning how to recognize and use your intuition in ways that maybe you weren't doing before. Then you're ready to learn Reiki, and learning Reiki will be an experiential process for you, not just a on paper kind of thing, or a just do this and believe it kind of thing. Feel it and believe it, experience it and believe it, and as you do, you get stronger at it very easily. So, any questions? Any comments? Give me a like if you felt like this was a useful topic. If you felt like something that I said resonated with you, give me a thumbs up or a heart or something. Let me know that this was meaningful to you in some way. That is my hope, of course. And thank you. And thank you for being here, and thanks for watching. And if you're watching live, thanks for being here. If you're watching the recording, please feel free to comment. Give me a like anyways. Let me know if this was useful for you and helped you think about healing in a different way. Thanks, Amy Birch. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Lena. Thank you, people who are watching and liking, and I appreciate that. Thanks, Karen. I'm glad to know it. Well, I wish you a very good day, and I hope that you feel a little more of an understanding about distance healing and how it works and why it works and some things that can be done with it. Have a terrific day. Stay safe. Stay well. Stay positive. Talk to you later.